Hi everyone, my name is Gian Jamila and my topic is Steps of Policy Making Cycle. So the main idea of creating policy is to improve for members of the public. Officials design policies that move the public closer to a desired state or public goal. And even if the ideas comes from the outside government, the creation of policy falls to officials. Public policy refers to the action that is taken by the government. So it's a decision that the government intended to solve problems and improve also the quality of life for every citizen. At the federal level, public policies are enacted to regulate industry and business, to protect citizens at home and abroad, to aid states and city governments and people such as the poor through funding programs and to encourage social goals. So a policy is established and carried out by the government goes through several stages for inception to conclusion, and these are the agendas building or setting, formulation, adaptation, implementation, evaluation. So the first one is agenda setting. So at this first stage, a problem or challenge that impacts the government or the public is initially identified. So solutions are put forward by the interest parties, both outside of the government. So agendas settings or agenda building typically goes to this through this stage. First is systematic agenda, which is all the issues of public official feel are worth addressing. The next is an institution agenda, which is distilled from the systematic agenda list. And these issues are those chosen as the one policymaker should analyze and consider acting on. The third one is the discretionary agenda, which is the list comes directly from lawmakers, not from the systematic and institutional agendas. The last one, or the fourth one, is the decision agenda, which is the final list of issues that policymakers will consider for action. So before policy can be created, a policy must exist that is called to attention of the government. So illegal migration, for example, has been going for many years, but it was not until 1990s that enough people considered it as a serious problem that required increased government action. Okay. So next is the formulation or policy formulation. So in the policy formulation, these steps involve the government policy within the government. This occurs after officials narrow the range of possible policies choices by including infeasible options. So in these steps, different interest parties attempts to have their favored policy solution rank high among the remaining options. This step often involves a period of intense debate. So policy formulation also means coming up within an approaching to solving a problem. So Congress, the executive branch, the courts and interest groups may be involved, and contradictory proposals are often made. So the president may have one approach to immigration reform, and the opposition party members of the Congress may have another. Policy formulation has tangible outcome. A bill goes before a Congress or a regulation agency drafts proposed rules. The process continues with the adoption, and a policy is adopted when Congress passes legislation. The regulation become final, or the Supreme Court renders a decision in a case. So the next one is the decision making. So for the decision making in these steps of the government, leaders decide on a particular course of action. Ideally, it is the course that will best address the problem for most members of the public. So the next step is the policy implementation. So in this step, the policy making process, governments put the chosen public policy options into effect. So officials use the tools of public administration that impact the distribution of the government goods and services, or make changes in how the government taxes the public. So the changes should reflect the sentiments and values that values of the affected parties. So the last step is the policy evaluation. So evaluation first, the meaning of it means determining how well policy is working, and it is not an easy task. People inside and outside government typically use cost benefits analysis to try to find answer. In other words, if the government is spending thousands of billions on this policy, are benefits derived from its worth expenditure? Cost benefit analysis is based on hard to come by data that are subject to different and sometimes contradictory interpretation. History has shown that once implemented policies are difficult to terminate. When they are terminated, it usually because the policy becomes obsolete, clearly did not work, or lost its support among the interest group and elected official that is placed on the agenda in the first place. So for a policy evaluation, interested parties both within and without the government monitor the impact of the policy and determine if it's achieving the intended goal. So this can lead to further changes in public policy, done in light of the impact of the original policy. So in the reality, that the policy making process is not typically so linear. However, these 5 steps provide a framework to better understand the policy formulation and help students to identify the strengths and weaknesses of the system. So if you're asking what is the importance of public formulation, policy formulation is a critical or pre-decision phase in the policy process. So it means that it aims to identifying the best solution for a problem. Policy formulation also involves assessing a possible solution to a policy problems, or exploring the various options that is available for addressing a problem.